Actually, I'm gonna fight the mechs here soon. Yep. Okay, and then the mecha summon. The eyeballs summon. I see. Yep. Just giving them. Whoa. Powerful. The flare one is powerful against these two. The homing projectiles are really good, definitely. There we go. The mechais have been defeated. And now, prime time. Yeah, I'm just going instantly from one to the other. Okay. The mech worm's probably gonna be the most annoying, not gonna lie. And I will have to do because this thing does like best against single target. I've almost gotten rid of every single hand. And I think, yep. Wait. Never mind, I don't have it. This thing is extremely powerful. Yeah, you're not really supposed to have this thing at this point, but if you do get it to pre-max, oh, it's gonna shred the max. Oh, the destroyer is actually getting damaged a lot here. Yeah. This is not a piercing weapon. The weapon that does the best against the destroyer. Piercing weapons. This thing is not, and it's doing really good. Yep. Get trapped here. Yeah, and it's bushy eyes. Yeah. I think the best way is to let a lot of homing bubbles in. There we go. Destroyer beaten. There's the prime souls.
typically stay out of sight and out of mind. Pink Diamond specifically took to the pebbles for comfort very often, and even bonded with them as friends.
Definitely gonna get
Komi
this thing.
is also a type of living or gem-powered object, and also like the Pebble class gem as well. She must be a little bit higher up than one of Pink's pebbles at
Gonna get
least,
this thing
as she was
too.
good enough to be one of
I'm not
the
gonna be
Diamond's
using it,
personal
so that's
clones.
okay.
And
I'm
we
gonna
know
get
that
that
8 is the
modifier.
lowest ranking of the Diamonds,
And then,
but more on that later. Komi sings to Blue as she brushes her hair, and she is surprisingly very big if she truly is a pebble. Now, coming in the ranks just slightly above the pebbles are, of course, the pearls. Born from the reef, pearls are assigned as the dedicated attendants to highly ranked gems. They were created to serve just one authority and prove to be some kind of status symbol on homeworld, like some kind of sick Labubu. They act on their gems every whim.
So for the Knight's Edge, what do I need? Wait, advance that one. Okay, got it. Gonna have to go this way to get some stuff from the jungle.
They are still usually treated as good. Pearls are typically submissive and not think anything about themselves. They view their own needs and feelings as irrelevant and unnecessary, though they do seem to have their own personalities. Yellow Diamond's Pearl, for example, feels like she is above other gems that would typically be ranked higher than her because she serves a diamond. She tends to be a high and mighty rule follower, while Blue Diamond's Pearl is reserved and pretty friendly. Pink Diamond's Pearl was playful and cheery, which made her a great match for Pink, but when White Diamond takes Pink's Pearl away, she becomes robotic and loses her personality as she falls into White Diamond's mind control. And then, of course, there is our Pearl, who is actually nobody's Pearl. When Pink Diamond lost her first Pearl, the Pearl that we know took her place. Calculating and precise, Pearl often fights and moves around elegantly as if she was dancing. She tends to freak out if things don't go as planned for her. When Pearl and Pink Diamond ran away together, Pearl would have done anything to make her happy, not just as a Pearl, but as her companion, as someone who loved her. She rebelled against her role and everything that she had ever known, breaking down her own internalized systems and beliefs to step into the unknown on Earth with Rose as the first ever free Pearl. Peridot mentions that there are hundreds of pearls on Homeworld reserved for aristocratic members of their society, but Eyeball the Ruby tells us that pearls can also be given out as rewards, and that she dreams of being gifted one in exchange for bringing back the rogue Rose Quartz from Earth. Next up in the Diamond Court is one with just a little bit more personality than your typical pearl, Spinels. Spinels are the jesters, the clowns, the entertainers for the higher-ups. They are silly, goofy, and stretchy, and they love to bounce around all over the place doing cartwheels and flips. Much like a pearl, Spinels live to please
Get out
and
of
ride
here,
off the
Ray.
validation of making people have fun and laugh. Spinels are typically childlike and tend to be naive and a little bit annoying and overbearing. They are created to entertain, so it's no wonder why they want so much attention, though. When Pink Diamond lost her first pearl, a pink spinel was given to her instead, and she entertained her until she was given her colony. Pink then tricked her into playing a game and abandoned her for millennia, making her deranged and vengeful. That's not to say that every spinel has that rage in them somewhere, but with their childlike natures, tantrums and outbursts don't seem super far-fetched. In this case, it's pretty preserved.
I
While
kind of thought
spinels
that
can
was
be quite
perfect
calculating, this next
for a
gem is
fight.
more of the brawn instead of the brain. The common ruby soldier is not the brightest gem on Homeworld by any means, and they're often put into groups and responsible for grunt work like recon missions and bodyguarding high members of the court, like we saw with the Ruby squad that escorted Sapphire to see Blue Diamond when Garnet fused for the first time. Ruby guards are silly and boyish in nature. They like to play rough and push each other around. They punch each other and try to one-up each other constantly in ways that kids do on playgrounds. They are pretty small on their own, but when they fuse, their sheer size and muscle allows them to get just about any job done. But speaking of a big, strong gem, obsidians are beefy worker gems that construct trenches and encampments for the Diamond's armies. The only obsidians that we get to know are the fusion of Pink Diamond's gem with Ruby, Sapphire, Amethyst, and Pearl, and Snowflake Obsidian, a previously corrupt member of the Rebellion era of the Crystal Gems. While obsidians typically are used for army-based construction, the sheer size and the fact that snowflake obsidian seems to be bearing armor could tell us that they were probably soldiers as well. Snowflake obsidian had ice powers like sapphires or Laramars do, but I'm not sure if that extends to other types of obsidians as well. It
You
could
literally
just have
cannot
been
jump.
because her name was Snowflake, though. On that note,
Oh
each
my
fusion
god, that.
obsidian seems to have fire powers, which makes more sense for the lava-based stone that obsidian is. But the power may also just stem from Ruby's fire abilities. The fusion obsidian is pretty huge, and we can assume that a normal obsidian is a lot smaller, since fusions are bigger than their counterparts. And this particular fusion is made up of 5 gems, one of which being a diamond, which goes a lot into it. Obsidian seems to primarily build things for the military and for
Annoying.
soldier gems, but who's the one in charge of building everything else? Well, that brings us to bismuth. Bismuths are still pretty low-ranked gems in the caste system, but they are often in charge of higher scale or important projects than obsidians. They'll
Yeah,
make a
I'm
lot of
getting a good blade
structures,
of
ships, and
grass.
even occasional weapons, using
I
their
know
malleable hands that can
anything.
cut the shape
Ah,
of any
fine.
tool they might need. The bismuth that impressed you the most was a part of the Crystal Gem Rebellion. We can infer from her that bismuth might not be the calmest gems around, as she seems to blow her top when her plans get shut down or when they don't work out the way she wanted them to. While the last few gems have heavily relied on their strength, this next one is a bit more on the brainy side of things. Peridot are low-ranking, crafty, calculated, and nearly robotic when it comes to their jobs as engineers and technicians, primarily in regards to the kindergartens. They occasionally go to other planets as well, especially to check out their kindergartens. When Era 2 began and Pink Diamond disappeared, resources began running out, and paradox created during this time suffered because of it. They came out smaller and weaker than a normal Peridot, and to fight that problem, Era 2 Paradots were given bionic limb enhancers to compensate. Moving up the ranks, once again, we finally come to what I think is the broadest category of gems, Quartz Soldiers. Quartz Soldiers range in ranks from low to high, and there's just so much variety in the types of Quartz Soldiers that we learn about in the Steven universe. Quartzes are typically big and stocky with a lot of poofy hair, and the ability to Sonic-style spin dash. Their
Skyland.
The all-new Unstoppables fashion gives your clothes 24-hour non-stop freshness. Smell unstoppable.
To get rid of that thing.
Nissan Rogue has been named the Consumer Guide Best Buy for 11 years in a row. Drive the award-winning Nissan Rogue today.
And see, Planter is probably gonna be
Strong
pretty
bodies
easy.
made them excellent soldiers in war,
Yeah.
and her world with Tranquil Force soldiers from
Yes, and this
kindergartens have brute force gem power to
this
expand
thing
the
is what I
depths of
want.
their colonization. Of course, will often place a lot of value in their strength or their usefulness, like we see in the
Did
case
he
of
really not
Jasper,
get a
and smaller force
divine?
soldiers like the Crystal Gems Amethyst tend to have a
Annoying.
lower sense of self-worth tied to the fact that they feel less than for being small. Amethyst, especially early in the show, tries to compensate for her size by putting on a big show and pretending to be strong, even if it makes her act brash or reckless. Some quartzes love to have fun and be silly together too, like the Amethyst and the Rose quartzes that we see. Some quartzes are very stoic and professional, like Holly Blue Agate, which don't always translate well to Bill's happy-go-lucky groups of quartzes like the Amethyst that she commands. Of course, keeping with our working from bottom to top, let's start with the corrupted quartzes
Okay.
and fusions. There are beta kindergarten quartz monsters, Zebra Jasper and Crazy Lace Agate, who was a Rebellion era crystal gem, and we don't know much about these gems specifically, so we won't spend too much time on them. The next lower level quartzes are Flint, Chert, Angel Aura quartzes, and Tiger's Eye. They're just some more base level quartz soldiers, nothing too crazy going on with them from what we see. In the mid tier, we have Carnelians, Cherry Quartzes, Jaspers, Amethysts, Rose Quartzes, and Citrines. The only Carnelian that we see is part of the Amethyst, and we can assume that she was a victim of the shortage as well, seeing as she's only slightly larger than our Amethyst. She is fun and full of energy, which seems pretty consistent among a lot of quartzes. Cherry Quartz is another gem that we don't see much of. At first, she seems a little wrapped up in homeworld rules, but she quickly unlearns her beliefs when she joins Earth, so we can probably say she's more of a follower, which makes sense for a soldier. She also manages to understand the flaws of Homeworld, which is something a lot of gems really struggle to learn. Jaspers are typically soldiers or guards. The Jasper that we know best has a reputation of being incredibly strong and ruthless on the battlefield. Her role in the Rebellion War places her above a normal Jasper in rank, and she is desperate to prove that she is worth that praise by continuing to be the strongest gem around. Other Jaspers, however, can be laid back, or just generally quite pleasant. Some are arrogant, like our main Jasper, but it seems like this specific gem has quite a large range of personalities tied to it, which is probably due to the fact that the
Just
past
randomly
Jaspers
stumble
during
across the
the war
jungle
were also
temple.
victims of the resource
That's
depression that
nice.
affected the Era 2 batch of Paradox as well, which
Nice
could
to
have
know where it
resulted in
is.
Jaspers that were subpar, save for one
Definitely nice to
perfect
know.
BP war machine. Amethysts are another foot soldier who love camaraderie and fun. They seem to interact with each other similarly to the rowdy way that Rubies do, but they also like to laze around, like our Amethyst does. Amethysts tend to be pretty easygoing and willing to befriend any gem that passes the vibe check, which we see with the Amethyst being made up of not only Amethyst, but Jaspers and Chameleon as well. The Crystal Gems Amethyst seems to be pretty similar to the Homeworld ones personality-wise, and she fits right in with them when they finally meet. Moving on to Rose Quartzes.
Damn.
These soldiers were a more recent development in Kindergarten Gems. They probably focus more on defense than offense, although that could just be Pink Diamond's skill sets of healing and shielding. It wouldn't be impossible to assume that though, as Rose Quartzes are said to have healing properties in the real world, if that's something you're into. Actual Rose Quartzes in the show took the fall for Pink Diamond's Earth-saving escape plan. Thanks to Pink pretending to shatter herself in disguise as a Rose Quartz, the rest of this kind of gem was bubbled and put into Pink's zoo. The final mid-tier quartz is Citrine. Higher tier guards saved for attending important gems and high security assignments. When we get a glimpse of Emerald in the episode Lars of the Stars, she is yelling at Lars and the Off-Colors about getting past her elite guard of 67 Citrine to steal their fastest ship. And the final subcategory of quartzes is on the higher end of the medium ranking, agates. Agates are typically bodyguards or the leaders of the military, the ones who command the rest of the forces. They are authoritative, pristine, just downright scary, even going so far as to be
Guess I'll
abusive,
do
just
the
keeping her
grinding off
squadrons
camera
alive. Polyphore
for
Agate is
Leo
cold-blooded, and
Grabs for
much
Terror
like
Kid.
Jasper, thinks